place where I was looking at the prospect of more surgery. I've had enough surgery for one life. I've had open heart surgery, I've had stents put in, and I've had bypasses, and I just couldn't come to terms with doing more surgeries. My name is Lee Alden, and I'm from Putney, Vermont, a little village in the southeastern corner of Vermont, and I'm 58 years old. So I had this massive heart attack in March of 2011. I remember I went over to the window, and this is in Europe, so you can actually open the windows, in a hotel. And I remember opening the window and looking up at the sky, and I heard myself say out loud, "Oh, so this is how it ends." So I really thought, I'm going down. That's what I was thinking. They put in stents just to stabilize me to get me home. I had 3 stents put in. And they told me, when you get back to the States, go directly to the hospital. Don't even go home. So I went, without going home, I went to Dartmouth-Hitchcock Hospital, and I had open heart surgery. I had a triple bypass. I had 3 blockages. One was completely occluded, so completely blocked. The other 2 were something like 96 and 98. I got better for a little while. Then my health seemed to sort of take a nosedive again, and one of my bypasses closed up. My cardiologists were, starting to talk with me about things like defibrillators and more medication and other intervention in terms of surgeries. I was in so much pain. I have had unstable angina, which means that you can't predict what's going to bring it on. Sometimes it's, exertion, sometimes it's not. Really living on nitroglycerin and, 3 different forms of nitroglycerin, oral, sublingual, and patches. Yeah, I found myself having to take nitroglycerin several times a day. Well, the angina was happening in a lot of different areas of my body. We get the tightness in the jaw, pain down my arm, tightness in my chest. Often the worst was in my back. Yeah, right between the shoulder blades is where I feel it, and I think that's true for a lot of women. One of my cardiologists had called me back, and I was so excited, and I told her all about this, and she wasn't enthusiastic, and basically discouraged me from doing it. Particularly because I have unstable angina. She was worried about it and did not think that it would be a good idea for me to do it. And I said to her, that's so disappointing, because I felt so much hope, from it. And she just said, no, I don't think it's a good idea. She had worked in a clinic that had one of these machines. And she said after a year they'd gotten rid of it. And I said, why? And she said it wasn't cost effective. So for me, that was pretty telling. What resonated for me was there's something that I can do that would be helpful that's not invasive, it's not surgical. I was intrigued by this fact that it could build collateral arteries. The fact that it could, be a natural bypass was just like, that sounds really good to me. Since I've been doing the treatments, the angina has subsided greatly. I am just a big believer in Sara's program. It has made a huge difference in my health and in my life, but I am so grateful because in my world it's saved me, for now anyway, from surgery, and that is an incredible gift. I had an echo and some blood work done, and everything showed improvement. And my ejection fraction had been really low, like extremely low, 29. I just had another echo today, and I think it was 35 today. So that, if we have that number and we have the 29 that I started at, that's amazing to me, that within 2 months I can have that kind of improvement in my heart. And all my other numbers have changed as well. I was on a treadmill, and I walked for an hour without angina. That I haven't done in, I can't even tell you how long. I mean, before I got here, to walk that distance would have brought angina. The majority of my exercising has been angina-free, which is, That's a lot. That's saying a lot for me. Last night, I had taken a taxi over to the store to buy some groceries, and then I walked back to the place I'm staying, and the taxi driver had said it was 3 miles. I think because of the weakness of my heart, I had a lot of fluid built up in my body, and particularly in my legs. As of today, I have lost about 14 pounds, and I would say that's mostly fluid. I have a condition, by its most familiar name, is familial hypercholesterolemia. It causes my body to produce massive amounts of cholesterol. But at one point, my cholesterol was something like 625. It was just off the charts, And I want to say that it's down to 242. And I think it's important to note that that we're talking about the whole program, the Sara Solati program, because it's not just about doing the ECP. Discovering this clinic, Global Cardio Care, was an answer to a prayer. I feel grateful beyond words. On so many different levels, for the treatment itself, for the program, the whole program. I love that this program treats the whole person. I love this treatment, and I would recommend it to anybody. I do feel a sense of that I'm going to get to be around here a little longer. I feel a sense of hope. I think it'll make the difference between being alive and not being alive, Really seriously, the kindness of the people here, every day, people's hearts are just shining through. To me, that's the piece of healthcare that's really missing. Then I get a call from Monica, and she said, Sara would really like you to finish out these treatments and to stay for another round of 35 treatments. And of course, the first thing I'm thinking is there's no way that I could afford to do that. I live on a shoestring, so one of my friends paid for it. So my insurance wouldn't pay for it. And the next thing Monica said was, Sara would like to offer you those, the next 35 treatments complimentary for free. I just started crying, I was just like, oh my God, such a gift. So, really, this God's grace just over and over and over. It's been mind-blowing. Why don't more people know about this? And this is just such a wonderful way to help people with heart disease.